Welcome.
Woo! We are back. Episode 7.
Episode 7. It's so good to see y'all, hear y'all.
Yeah.
Be with y'all. Have y'all listen to us.
They don't know that we've had a gap in recording.
Yes.
So, the first 6 episodes, we had them in the chamber.
Yeah. In the tuck.
We had them tucked. We launched. And now we're back. Back in the studio.
Yeah, this is our first time in a minute.
And we had to come back because, Lord,
it's a lot going on.
It's a lot going on right now. I mean, we was going to come back anyway.
Yeah.
But
especially for y'all.
Shout out to all the people showing love to Revolutionary Baddies.
Yes.
We love every one of you who has made it a part of your routine. Like, you know, it drops on Wednesdays.
Yes.
You're queuing it up whenever we put the post up. You're there. You're listening.
Liking, sharing,
downloading.
Yes. I feel very grateful for like just what we've been able to do since we've put out, like, our first episode had over 100 downloads in the first week.
Yes.
Which is like, oh my God.
Yes.
So just a big shout out to all of our day ones.
Truly.
Our day one supporters. Love that. And also I appreciate there's so many of my friends and people that follow me and have followed me for a long time, you know, responding and being like, oh, I listened to the DMX episode, or I listened to Shooters and Looters, and like, I just love, and they'll almost always name a joke that Brittany has said. Yo.
Look, I be saying some stuff.
No, I be in here dying, but also people learn stuff. Like, people, there's so many people that was like, I went out and bought the Octavia Butler book that you talked about.
Gotta read it.
It only makes sense to me.
If you don't have it, especially considering like what we're about to get into, which is current events, you gotta get it.
Yeah.
Audible, go listen to it, buy it, read it. It should be next to your Bible.
It helps you make sense of this moment, even though it's fiction that was written in the 90s.
Lord.
That's it.
That's why I'm like, Marvin Gaye asked us, what's going on? And I don't think nobody's answered that man since. Because for real.
He looking down, still trying to figure it out.
What's happening?
What's going on?
And unfortunately, it's the same shit. Damn.
Yeah.
It really is. So here we are. We
are 5 months since Donald Trump has taken presidency.
5 months is crazy.
When
it doesn't feel like it to the average American.
It feels like it's been years.
Yeah.
Already.
I was thinking the other day, I was like, why ain't you heard nothing about the primaries? And I'm like, oh shit. Like,
them shits is over.
Well, not even over. They haven't started. I'm thinking about the next election because I'm thinking we're like midway through his term.
Oh, yeah. No.
And we're not there yet because it's so new.
Yeah. It's only just started. But before we get into it, how have you been? How you been, Brittany?
You know, I've been good. Same old.
Okay.
No, I have been good. I'm ready for the summer. It's on the horizon. I'm trying to lock in some plans, some fellowship. But in the midst of everything that's going on, I just, for myself, and I advise other people, you have to find something to keep you anchored.
Yeah.
During these times.
Oh, absolutely.
I keep myself anchored in being surrounded by real niggas. That makes life 10 times better. Great interactions.
Right.
You know, when people are online like, my friends, my family, I'm like, oh my.
Yeah.
Oh my.
No, people are struggling.
My friends give me life.
Right.
They pump me up.
Right.
And keeping my home a place where I can go to and be like, I ain't got to deal with now one of you motherfuckers.
Right. Right.
So I'm keeping myself anchored in a peaceful home and good relationships and trying to see what more can I do, or what should I, like trying to be visionary. That's what it is. Like, because during these times, if you aren't visionary, you will be in despair. So
Right.
I think this podcast is a part of why I am doing great, because I'm trying to put something forth. And we also have like great things coming ahead. We ain't gonna tell y'all right now.
We ain't gonna tell you, but you will know soon.
You will know soon.
Trust.
So I'm feeling good, because I'm I feel like I'm working towards something bigger than me. And at the same time, I'm sitting my ass down. Yeah. And at the same time, I'm trying to be outside.
Right. Balance.
Yeah. How you feeling?
Balance. I am doing well. I had a good amount of travel over the past couple of weeks.
Lord, where in the world is Carmen Sandy Dee Dee?
Which is nobody surprised by that. No, I went to Philly. I went home for maybe like 10 days. I was there for both my mama's birthday. Me and my sisters and my grandma, we all went to Atlantic City, which, Atlantic City brings back a lot of memories of like my 20s. Because it was like where we could go when you like, soon as you turn 21, you go to Atlantic City and like spend cheap, spring break that is also like in a nice hotel.
It was Myrtle Beach for us Southern niggas.
Right.
Yeah, we going to Myrtle Beach.
Exactly. And then it was Roots Picnic weekend right after that. So a lot of people was in town. Friends from North Carolina were in town, from other places there for the festival. I didn't actually go to the festival, but I went to a couple of events around, the festival. And I had a great time.
I'm about to say, what was it like to be back in your city, your hometown? Does it feel good when you're like driving in and you see the skyline?
It is. It's like my whole energy shifts. I get immediately like, all right, bitch, now you driving in Philly. Yeah. Like be fucking for real. And it's so familiar to me. Like I know the streets. I know how to get to places without using Google Maps. And I don't use it in Durham either, but for me to not live there and still be able to maneuver through the city in a way that's like, oh, this is new. There is new stuff, but I don't feel out of place by the newness of the city. And I love like randomly bumping into people or seeing people that I went to high school with, or people from Cheney. It's a lot of people from Cheney that still live in Philly or have moved to Philly. And so that's always been really great. There's specific food places that I want to go, and then I try to incorporate new places, and
it's an experience. You have to take me.
Yeah, no, we gotta go.
I feel like God purposely keeps me out of certain cities.
Okay. That's
my theory. I don't know.
And Philly is one of them.
Philly is one. Because I might be the type of nigga you got to keep away. Like, I didn't go to a HBCU, which I regret and I don't regret. I don't regret because what is it to regret your life? Because I did enjoy my college experience. Yeah. But obviously, like, in hindsight, I think Black people should really celebrate HBCUs. And I always did, but I didn't go. But sometimes I look back and I'm like, my body count wouldn't have stood a chance. Woo. Yeah. It was low when I left college, not because of morality, just lack.
Lack of options.
And I ain't gonna lie, most of my college bodies were from the local HBCU. So I was like, if I would have been on that campus, I would have been on Juicy Campus. Did y'all have like a Juicy Campus? It was like a secretive page on Facebook. Basically, like it was very misogynistic. It was airing out the quote unquote hoes. Oh, and men too. Like women and men
on any campus.
Yeah, it was bouncing around. Like it was like a Juicy Campus, and then each campus would get their own thing. Oh wow! And my name didn't show up at my school. But had I been somewhere else?
We didn't have that, but we did have, when I first got there was something called the list, quote unquote. And I mean, creative writing truly shined on this thing, and it was like a Facebook note back when Facebook had just notes.
Yeah, it was around. God, it's been so many evolutions. The posts, the notes,
the post, and this was before a like current post or a daily post. There was just the note feature, and when I first got there, essentially it was a whole like, you know, type burn book type of thing. Like who was fucking who, who was cheating on a man, which niggas was cheating on who had a STI, who you know, was lying about, you know, or who was in the closet. I mean, it was a whole expose situation, and it came out every semester. And the way that it was written was like through the lens of a sex worker that actually was at the school and was arrested because she had HIV and was also being a sex worker on my campus, and she got arrested, and so the list was written as if it was from her perspective.
Wow.
Right.
I hope they have a master's in that.
I mean,
now, whoever did it.
Looking back on it, I mean, thankfully, it was kind of ending when I got to like my second year. After that, it wasn't really a thing. And that's how we suspected that it was one of the niggas that was like graduating class of you know, 08 or 09 or something like that. But anyway, it was an experience to go to a HBCU, and it was like a lot of people from Philly that went to my school. So I always, even though I was kind of away from the city, it still felt like I was right there.
Something has kept me out of New Orleans, out of Philly, out of HBCUs.
Out of Chicago.
Like I already told you, if I come back from Philly, I'm going to be inshallah. I'll be wrapped up in a minute. Let me meet a tall nigga with big hands. What's up?
Who?
So anyway, but I am going to go on a field trip there. I will document.
No, we are.
I have to go.
Maybe we'll do homecoming.
Sometimes you just got to grab me by the back of my neck.
And be like, this where we going?
No, be like, it's enough. Let's go.
Oh, okay. Whenever, I will let you know when it gets to that point. But I am the type of homegirl that will literally let you rock.
100%. That's why we flow.
Yeah.
Because who's gonna stop who? No one. Let's just do it.
We need chaperones.
We need them. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I sometimes I get into the shenanigans. Next, you know, just at a party, at a club, at a homecoming, at something. Next thing you know, we in some nigga's loft apartment.
That's not a bad place to end up.
You know, I don't know. I'm in somebody's car, going somewhere.
And I'm the type of friend to be like, yeah, let's go. He said he cool. You think he cool? I trust my friend's guts.
Yeah.
You think he cool? All right.
Yeah, no, I generally have good instincts about these things. My friends can attest to it.
We here.
Yeah.
So, yeah, anyway. Shout out to Philly. I'm on my way. I'm coming.
Brittany's on her way, y'all. Welcome her with open arms, okay?
Please.
Yeah.
Please. So now we got to talk about what's going on in the cities.
Yeah.
The big cities.
Yeah. I'm excited about it.
We got to talk about it, y'all. So Trump he got the pedal to the metal.
Mm-hmm.
They have a strategy, and it's chaos. His administration has a strategy that is wearing the people thin.
Yeah.
People are stressed out just looking at the news.
Yes.
Or not even look. There are literally people who don't watch the news, and they are still stressed because somehow, you know, through the internet, they're getting bits about what's going on.
Yeah.
And it's something else every day. It's the federal government. It's being dismantled. Elon and Trump are tussling. World leaders are tussling on the internet.
Via
the funding is getting snatched left and right. We're here in Durham, North Carolina, where we've seen the Pauli Murray
Pauli Murray Center
being
lose
defunded.
Thousands.
North Star Church
North
of
Star
the
Church
Arts,
of the Arts, yeah.
losing federal funding,
Thousands.
and Job Corps, like crazy stuff. And everything is becoming extremely divisive. And I really wanted, and we're about to talk about that divisiveness. Like, I think some lines should be drawn, and I think other areas where we're being divided is absolutely useless. Yeah. And we need to focus on the ops, the real ops. We've talked about the ops, y'all. Yeah. ICE is out here kidnapping people. And the Marines have their boots on the ground, literally.
Yeah, in LA.
They're in LA, and I just saw right before I got here that the National Guard has been deployed in Texas and like San Antonio. So here we are.
Here we are in the middle of fascism.
It's crazy to be in the midst of something. I think it's like when people talk about hurricanes, the eye of the storm. When you're in the eye of a hurricane, it's actually calm. Yeah. And everything around you is being destroyed. And I think everybody kind of feels like they're in the eye. Like they see the destruction. They know that the storm is here. Yeah. But, I can leave here and go to Starbucks if I want, or go out to eat. Or go to the park.
Right.
But we log onto our phones, we turn on our TVs, or if we're in affected areas, we're like, whoa, what's that? You drive by and you see maybe protesters or something of that sort. And so it's an odd reality to be in the belly of the beast. Yeah. Seeing it all go down.
Yeah. In such a short amount of time, so much has shifted. Like we talked before about the federal jobs and the amount of layoffs and fires and like eliminating whole departments, eliminating different hundreds of thousands of positions that used to exist within the government. And obviously this is not to say that our government also, it was also never made with us in mind at its core, at its foundation. And it is the entity that controls the systems of this country. And Black and brown people in this country do not have any control over those systems, don't have power over those systems. The power that we have is on the ground with the people. And so even with the tactics that the Trump administration is putting forward, people are still showing up and showing our power in numbers.
Power in numbers. I want to get straight into like solidarity. Yeah. It's a lot going on. And I would say online, but obviously online is a reflection of like discourse that's happening offline. Yeah. Particularly surrounding the ICE raids and immigration right now. I love my niggas. Lord knows I do. I love y'all with my whole heart. But the way some of us are out here on the internet talking, I don't know if it's a fed or if it's one of my niggas. Right. When I see a Black person repost something and I look in the comments of the post and it's a bunch of MAGA profiles like, hell yeah. You got to think about what you just reposted. Right. If crackers are agreeing with you, whatever you take from the post, you got to evaluate, like, what does that mean? So the big thing right now is about Black people sitting it out.
Now, people have talked about other people saying this and like posting this, but I have not actually seen this.
Get on Twitter.
Okay, I'm not.
Twitter is where the discourse is happening.
Okay, I'm not on Twitter.
Instagram is where maybe Shade Room or somebody will take like, this is what your cousin's saying online, and they'll summarize it in a swipe type of post. But like the discourse on Twitter, And Twitter is not the world, right? But I'm seeing it on Facebook, and I've heard a few whispers from people out of their mouths personally. Not a lot.
Yeah.
But as we know that online, there's a lot of propaganda. And so it starts on Twitter, it moves to Facebook. God knows when stuff moves to Facebook, it gets our older generation.
Yeah.
Bad.
Yeah.
The aunties, the grandmas, they be wiped.
Please don't
caught
let
up in
that
the
be
rapture.
us. Yeah.
And because Twitter is such obviously a conversation based app versus pictures, reels, videos, it's crazy to see. And a lot of people will take tweets and post them online, but people are really, but this has been a conversation since the election, the whole 92%. I think I mentioned it to you before and you were like, what? The 92% talking point is pretty much that Black women voted 92% for Kamala versus Trump. Black men were at about 80 some percent, 70 some percent, right behind us strongly, but like 80 some percent. And then the rest of the numbers are pretty split between other racial groups.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people feel like pretty much it's their position that we knew what was ahead. We knew how fascist this administration was going to be.
Yeah.
And we showed up. We did what we could to vote to get Kamala in office. And the rest of the country did not take heed and support us. And now we're all being victimized by his administration.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very valid feeling of like, especially particularly Black women, because when they say the 92%, it only applies to Black women.
Yeah.
That is like, we are tired.
Yeah.
Of trying to take care of this dusty ass country.
Yeah.
And I don't think that those feelings should be invalidated, but I also don't like this ideal that, well, we voted, so we did our part.
Yeah.
And I think that logic in itself is worth having a discussion about, because a lot of times Black people feel like voting is the ultimate form of political participation.
Exactly.
So they're like, we did it. We did our part.
Yeah.
Voting is not the only thing you have a responsibility to do if you want to uphold a democracy.
Yeah.
So 92% of you all, of us voted against Trump, but what else has the 92% of us done?
Yeah.
And I don't say that like in a, we ain't done nothing, but it's a reminder that that's not the only thing that there is to do to fight fascism. It's to go vote.
Right. Right. And I think too, like, I think it's interesting that this, like, how Black women voted conversation is fused with this conversation about ICE raids and immigration, because it's not fused in other ways, right?
It's very Fed like. It's these?
Because it's kind of creating this artificial divide of like those people that are being picked up by immigration, and then we Black women we've done our part, or we have been there for, quote unquote, been there for you, and now this thing is happening to those people, and it's kind of like that's what you get. Yeah. Energy, which is, we could just go deeper than that. We could. Yeah. Look, we really could.
I'm trying, when to say, is it taking you that long? It does. I'm trying to be very mindful about how I say these things, but that mentality of like, that's what you get. I think we can gloat for like a cool 30 seconds. I ain't gonna lie, there are moments where I'm like, I hear that song, I will vote for Donald Trump. I hear it playing, they'll play it on Shade Room and like certain things. And I'm like, now look at you, dummy. But that doesn't form my politics. I can say, look at you, dumb motherfuckers. Look what you done. But that doesn't turn into, as a whole group, disregarding these people who are being kidnapped and oppressed and literally trafficked to El Salvador.
Yeah.
That doesn't form my politics to say, okay, well, people made a bad decision, so forget them. And then I also want people to keep in mind when we look at the numbers for of Latinos that voted for Trump, for the women, it was, I think, around 40% so not quite the majority.
Mm-hmm.
And for men, it was just over the majority, like 50%
Mm-hmm. So
So we're still dealing with a significant demographic of people who did not vote for Trump.
yeah.
And I think because it wasn't 92%, people
Yeah.
are like, oh, Latinos voted for Trump. Not
Right.
all, one. And you have to understand that the Latino community is very diverse. You've
Mhm.
got people who really associate with being white. They're white
Mhm.
Cubans, they're Argentinians.
Mhm.
And it's a whole lot of complexities within that group to just say, well, Latinos voted for Trump,
Right.
so they deserve what they're getting.
Yeah.
I think that takes away, once again, we're buying into this whole group mentality.
Right.
Oh, the Latinos they're anti-black.
Yeah. It's also problematic for us at this point to conflate immigration and Latino.
Yes.
Because it's absolutely not just Latino people that are being picked up. There are a large amount of Haitian people that are
Mhm.
being picked up, and a large amount of Indian people that are
Yeah.
also being picked up and stripped away from their families and forced into deportation. And just a little bit of backdrop on ICE. It stands for Immigration Customs Enforcement, and they are a body that actually hasn't existed as long as the police. They've
No.
only existed for like 20 something years.
I think George Bush administration
which
did it
George-
after
it
the
had to
second
be.
one. I think it was
Yeah.
formed in like 2022, so like maybe a year after 9/11.
Not 2022.
Not 2022, Lord. I'm mixing up my 2000s. 2002. I think I did that on another episode. I said 2015. It was 2005, but
Yeah.
2002.
Yeah. So it's only existed for 22-ish years. And what my understanding is that what they're intended to do is be the enforcement around migrants that also like commit crimes,
Right.
quote unquote. And so these are, the people that the propaganda kind of made everyone scared of.
Mm-hmm.
These criminals that are coming in that work for the cartels and whatever else, they kind of have made up about immigrants in general, not even just not just Latino immigrants. And so they've also, made up all kinds of propaganda against Haitians, against Somali people, against people coming from the Congo and different parts of the continent. We have in this country these ideas about just generally people coming from other countries. In
Every
a way
wave
that
of
isn't
people,
in a way that isn't applied to white people that come from other countries. Immigrants, particularly white immigrants in this country, used to be able to vote, used to have like almost full citizenship and the ability. I'm talking about the Polish people. I'm talking about the Germans that migrated here in the earlier parts of the 1900s. They used to have the right to vote.
Not surprised.
And so because of the very racist history that this country stands on, fundamentally, these types of things around quote unquote immigration enforcement, it only applies to black and brown people.
Yeah.
That's just period.
Yeah. I hate even that we're talking about people and continuously using the term immigrants as if that speaks to their personhood or something. Like,
right,
I don't
right.
even like just calling people immigrants because once again, it's very focused on, it's a racialized term.
Yeah.
No one's talking about, we have Canadian immigrants here.
Yeah.
Who have overstayed their visas. They're here illegally.
Yeah.
doing whatever. No one is saying like, oh my God, what are we doing about the Canadians or the French that are here?
Yeah. I think the term to use is migrants now. I'm only saying immigration because we're talking about ICE, which has immigration in the name, but the term to use now is migrants. Yeah. Just a little bit of context around what has happened related to ICE in the past few months, with the backing of Donald Trump. So there's been these huge ICE raids that have been publicized all over the news, which also means that there are many, many ones that are not being televised and not on our feeds, are happening in silence, in the dark, and with individuals. And they've put out for ICE to be, finding people and deporting them. And a big piece of how they've been able to kind of legitimize that is through criminalizing immigration. Yeah. Period. Like, that is what they are doing. They're actually criminalizing the idea of other folks immigrating here, Black and brown people being here. And it used to be that, people would get picked up because they've committed violent crimes, and that is what influenced deportation. But now they are actually considering like, oh, just actually you getting here, quote unquote, illegally is the crime. And that is our legitimacy for picking you up and now deporting you.
The crazy thing is that with the decision recently with revoking the legal status of, I think it was like 350,000 Venezuelans, they had legal status to be here.
Exactly.
So like you're saying, it's not even about even if they're here illegally, it's the fact that they are not actual citizens. Anybody who's not a citizen is up for deportation. Even if they have a green card, if they have a work visa, whatever it may be, they are literally, you're not a citizen. You don't have the right to be here. You're an illegal immigrant. Yeah. And I mean, we see that with people who were pro-Palestinian being picked up by ICE. Yeah. They have legal status here. Yeah. I forget the gentleman's name.
The professor.
I think he was in Vermont. And he was going to one of his meetings for citizenship. Yeah. And they arrested him there. Right. So what is that? They're basically using the ICE as apparently just a muscle.
That's new. They're also like popping up at people's like hearings and meetings about their immigration status. They are popping up. I heard about them showing up to different like school graduations. They're waiting for people to come outside of their homes. So a big part of also how they are getting people is by surveilling them. Yeah. They're surveilling the people that they're, quote unquote, targeting for a good amount of time, enough time to know when they generally leave the house, when they generally come back in. And so they are, watching people and waiting for them to come out of the house. And so all of the organizations that's putting out, know your rights things and are just being like, don't open the door, don't answer any questions. This no longer applies to where we are now. Like, they don't need to knock on your door. They just wait for you to come outside.
Walk your dog, walking somewhere, going to work.
Going to somebody's house.
Being at work.
Being at work. They're also going to different day laborer work sites where they know they'll be. And even if someone isn't actually a target on their list, they'll get them anyway. They'll get them anyway. Yeah. It's also new, the kind of like the show of the raids also, because it's not just like it's one or two officers that's coming up, and it's like 12 officers plus some FBI agents, plus some agents from DEA or some other like enforcement agency. They're all showing up. And so I was listening to this podcast where they, it was a journalist that was kind of inside of the process of essentially a deportation.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, he was saying like they got there and like within minutes they arrested him, and his brother was there. He wasn't a target, but he was there. So they just picked him up. You know, they're doing this early in the morning, picking up a few people every day. The numbers right now are, in May, it was 850 people a day being picked up in the month of May. They have a quota that they have made very public about how many people they plan on deporting, not just detaining. This is the deportation quota that they're trying to hit every day is 3,000 people.
That's crazy.
3,000 people.
And what people don't realize, because when we look at like whole scale violence, is that those people, of course, they have lives. Mm-hmm. And okay, so say for instance, someone snatched me out of existence.
Yeah.
That affects my job. That affects my child. That affects my family who has to arrange to take care of my child. That affects resources, mm-hmm. the bills. That affects where I live, because now all of a sudden they're not collecting rent. Like mm-hmm. one of their tenants is gone.
Yeah.
That affects a whole system of people. And so when you are taking these people, you're not just taking them away from their families and separating them from their families. You're separating them from communities. You're separating them from people who depend on them, and not just in a like, oh, it's their family, you know, which should matter, but that literally could have been the person who does the patient transports for a local nursing home facility, or like you're really snatching people out of their environment, and that has a ripple effect. And losing that amount of people a day being snatched up, and it's beyond just their work. It's just as a whole thing. They could be the person at their church that does something, the person who cuts lawns in the community, whatever it may be. And so it's so unfortunate that once again, it's all just being painted as like illegal immigrants. And it's such a dehumanizing way of looking at actual people who matter wherever they're from and wherever they're at, and how narratives kind of desensitize us. And that's the whole point of making this an immigrant thing and making it synonymous with Latinos.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I mean, I think too, like, and this is not new. There have been Black people, you know, fighting for migrant justice for a long time in this country, for us to better understand like the militarization of the enforcement that is happening is all of our fight.
Yeah. That's when people say, Black people, we can sit this one out. What exactly are you sitting out?
What are you
militarized
sitting out?
Police? Because we know that.
What do you mean? I
saw a quote today that said, "We are not next. We were first."
Hello.
So people like, you know, oh man, it could happen to us next. What do you mean happen to us next? What? Where have y'all been? Like false imprisonment is our fight. The erasure of a minority group is our fight.
Right.
And I really want us to get out of this whole other communities have anti-Blackness within them, so therefore it's all on them.
Right.
One, I want to get out of it, because when people talk about that, beyond Latinos, like people say that about Africans. Mm-hmm. Oh, Africans hate African Americans. I'm like, how many Africans have you met that have treated you with disdain, didn't talk to you? That's not your personal experience. These narratives that exist, how much are they actually lived experiences? I've had one African girl who was, for the first time ever, I could tell she looked down on me for being African American. Yeah. She also had on a terrible 27-piece wig. Yeah. And no mental sanity in her body. So I didn't take it too much to account. Other than that, I've never been mistreated. When I deal with various people in the Latino community, I've never experienced anti-Blackness. Yeah. And also I want to tell niggas, we have anti-Blackness in our own community. Mm-hmm. because we all are being affected by this colonial project.
Yeah.
So please cut out, oh, these groups don't support us. They talk about us. They come, all the things. I think we can have real conversations about anti-Blackness, but making it so widespread, like Latinos just hate Black people, right. And why should we care about what they have going on? It is fed like narrative.
It is, because it's also, even if someone had a personal experience of being mistreated or overlooked or ignored, etc., in this country, those are the social dynamics that the country was founded on, period.
Right.
It doesn't apply systemically still. And so when we're talking about systemic issues in the US, it is ran, like, the power of the system is white supremacists, Christian nationalists, capitalists. Those are the elements that make up the systems of power that we have, whether it be education, whether it be healthcare, whether it be criminal justice, whether it be our food systems. The people that are in power over those systems are white supremacists, they're Christian nationalists, and they are capitalists, hardcore capitalists. And so I can understand, obviously, going off of what you said, there's anti-Blackness all up and through all of this. And within many people, it does not make the systemic fight a divisive one.
Right.
That's just it. It doesn't make the systemic fight different.
And
hello?
Like, the way I look at, I've always felt like there's been a war going on. And no acknowledgement for it. Okay. This is like my theories back to high school. Like, there's always been a genocidal war against Black people. And then through learning, it's really just against working class people, poor people. And I don't think we're in war mode. And I think that's the problem. No. Is that if you understand war tactically, you have to have allies. You don't always get along with your allies. Right. You don't always have the same interest or vision or pursuit as your allies. But you know that in numbers, being organized with allies, you can defeat forces. When people talk about, like, the American Revolution and the 13 colonies, they had allies. At the times, they colluded with France. Yeah. For troops and arms and things to help fight the British. Yeah. And so we have to understand that we're not in a position as African Americans to not form
alliances.
We have to.
Strategic alliances is what they're called, people.
Strategic. And people are so caught up in, like, these emotional narratives that are, like, very individual.
It's anecdotes.
Yeah.
It's anecdotes.
You're caught up in that. You're repeating somebody.
You're either repeating someone else's experience, or your experience is, like, fully developed, has all the truth involved, and it, like, stops there. Like, we like,
you've turned it into something much bigger.
No.
So that's where I'm like, where's the strategy in looking at ourselves as a group?
Right. And we have some amazing historical references and examples where this has existed. And I think too, again, the system also contributes to our divisiveness.
Yeah, that's where it's really, that's why I'm looking at people and I'm like, they're feeding us that propaganda and y'all are carrying it. You're reposting it. You're talking about it. It's becoming, we're taking the narrative on our own wings.
Right.
And the whole time it never started with nan nigga. I swear a Fed said we the 92.
Yeah.
And they posted that shit on Twitter and Facebook, and it went wow.
But sitting out to do what? Sitting out this one to do what? Like, what are you doing? Posting on Facebook. That's all you're doing.
I'm so concerned by the ideal.
You trying to get more people to sit this one out?
That's where you can see this. The feds is in it. You're recruiting people. I've seen people post, "Not my problem, I'm sitting out," and I go look in the comments because I'm always in the comments. And people like, "That's right, sis. I'm drinking my tea right now." And I'm like,
Lord have mercy. We got a lot of work to do.
No.
I mean, you know what it is too? Some niggas needed a reason to sit down anyway.
Yes.
That's all they...
Yeah.
They didn't want to tap in anyway.
So it's like, I did that. I voted.
Hello.
So there's that. I shouldn't have to do anything more. And I'm like, in the face of this regime.
At a time like this, get your ass up. Bring your tea. Put it in a to-go cup.
Because one, the whole ideal, once again, George Jackson, who wrote Blood in My Eye, Soledad Brothers, he said in 1971, fascism is here.
Period.
So when people are like, I'm sitting this out, we never can sit down. What do you mean sitting it out? Like, it's not like something just started. Now, granted, Trump's regime is crazy. They cranking it.
Yeah, but
it's always work to do.
Yeah,
always, because in the United States of America,
right, 100%.
And so I'm just like, there's never a break, and I can understand that the ideal. And I was thinking about this today, because we have phones, because we have televisions, which is new in the scale of human history. We experience things that we don't experience. We see things. Yes. We see people getting killed.
Yeah.
Like, have I seen someone get killed in person? No. Have I seen people being killed dozens of times, if not more? We see the carnage. We see war.
Yeah.
But we actually have never seen war. We've never seen someone get their head blown off. So it plays into the human psyche of really being burnt out. Like all of the war and crime and things, and we're being exhausted. So I do want to acknowledge how Black people, not only are we tired just from like generational trauma and our own experiences, but then we watch Michael Brown's body lay out. Yeah. We saw that on Twitter. Yeah. And we watch these things. And so we're being traumatized by these experiences, and we're being burnt out by these things that actually are not occurring
to us. Yeah.
And so when people are like, I'm gonna sit this one out because I'm so tired, you're so tired from watching it. And I get it, because this is a new thing for the human brain to like deal with, that we're like watching all of these different conflicts happen. We're watching Gaza.
Right.
And so I understand it, but the ideal of just saying, it don't concern me. Yeah. It has to be crack cocaine. Crack must be coming back. For somebody to say what's happening in their nation doesn't concern them, as if the Trump administration is only targeting immigrants. Right. He's targeting everyone. Harvard professors. Right. He's targeting, he just said, let's arrest Gavin Newsom. And when they said for what crime, he said, well, one, he's a bad governor. Right. Like, running for governor. He's literally coming for everybody. So I don't understand the ideal of like
nonprofit organizations, foundations, social justice. Like,
he coming for your daycare vouchers.
Hello.
He's coming for your food stamps. He's coming for regular benefits. He's coming from Pell Grants, or I think at one point they were trying to cut off funding. He's coming for your education. He's coming for Head Start.
He's coming for the future.
So
that's it. That is enough of a reason to not, quote unquote, sit this one out.
it has to be crack, but that's okay because you can get off crack. Just because you on it don't mean you got to stay on it.
You don't.
And then another thing that's troubling online that I think we have to talk about just in general is AI.
Oh, yeah.
And how many people are being fed fake pictures, like no media literacy.
Yeah.
To be able to look at a post and be like, or you see an inflammatory post, you click on the profile. This is clearly a bot.
Right. There's no real picture.
There's no real picture. They're just an agitator. You go to their post. They just created their Twitter about 8 months ago.
No followers. No
followers.
Yeah. If they got posts up, it might be like some memes and reposted videos and shit.
We have to realize, like, wait a minute. There is this massive propaganda machine. And with AI, it can distort voices.
Yes.
So you can say, oh, you can have Trump's voice saying something, the governor saying something, and we have to be able to detect these things and be like, oh no, this look a little oppish.
Yeah.
I don't think y'all know the feds be working hard.
One thing about it, the FBI, the CIA, those are fully funded government agencies.
They got a call center. They got a whole computer lab, probably of people like, I know that's right, girl.
Oh, 100%.
Sis, I got my tea.
It's them. It's also corporations that run farms is what they're called. They're like bot farms or something like that, where essentially they churn out different hashtags, popularize things, create these discourses really on the internet.
The algorithm.
And like, not just politics. They'll have some shit that's like, my baby daddy ain't shit. And people are going in on that on Facebook. They're collecting data. They're working the algorithm. So it's the paid bots. It's the bot farms. It's the AI produced content. And then there's also, I listened to this interview a while ago, basically about for like small cities, small towns, there are these fake local news outlets that kind of may carry the same like name as the real one, but it'll be like a newsletter or like a newspaper that acts as a local news site. And it's actually a corporation from, I don't know, fucking India or something, or like Cambodia, and it's people that are creating fake news.
Yeah.
Local.
And look, it's killing, like I said, that older generation on Facebook. I've had my mom send me stuff, or she's talking about, they kidnapping black women in Rocky Mount. And then I go look at the post and I'm like, look at the page. Look at the page. Like, yeah. So it's a lot of misinformation out there
all over
that
the
is
place.
Trying to drive these narratives. And this is a time when everybody has to have original thoughts, critical thinking. And sometimes I ain't gonna lie, I'll see something, I'm like, oh hell no.
Yeah, right.
But then I go look it up and I'm like, see,
can't be reactionary.
You gotta research.
You gotta think.
And so this is a time for solidarity and to understand what it is to fight fascism. Like I say, if I gotta have another little moment, because the civil rights movement, God bless it. Thank you for it. Thank you for all the soldiers. It like such a beautiful moment in our history.
Of course.
But the way that it has been distorted, co-opted, packaged in this like really bright, shiny packaging and delivered to the generations afterwards, it's such a disservice to it.
Yeah.
Black people, I love y'all, but the whole thing, like the civil rights movement, I see in so many conversations, is just reduced down to we fighting for the right to vote, and for desegregation of schools and things of that sort. And so, because Black people fought and died for us to obtain the right to vote, we hold voting to such a high esteem. And I pretty much said this a little bit earlier, but I want to circle back to the fact that we feel like it's a lot of shame around when other Black people want to go to the ballot box and vote third party, socialist, communist, whatever. It's like, come on, our ancestors died for our right to vote. And I always tell people, finish that sentence. For the right to vote to really create the politics we want for our community, not to just actually perform the physical act of voting.
Yeah.
And people are like, we've been voting against the Republicans. You've been voting for the Dems, and they the ops too. Yeah. They're the better op. They're the op that you can work with. So it's an understandable choice. It's no shame that we have voted, Democratic, but not realizing that what we need for our community is not going to be obtained by just voting for the Democrats and feeling like, oh, well, I voted for the good guys. Shut your fucking mouth. No, you didn't.
Right.
And I'm not here to berate y'all, but I am, because I do it every election cycle. Shut up. Okay, I voted for Kamala. And yes, we wouldn't be experiencing a lot of the things that we are. But that's not to say that we were going to be improving our lives significantly, like any mass incarceration.
Yeah, we would still be on the defense, to be clear.
Yeah, so where's the strategy?
Yeah.
In what we're doing? And I feel like we get so caught up on that vote.
Yeah.
God, and I think a lot of Black people are saying, when they say they're going to sit it out, they basically mean, I'm going to sit it out until the primaries, and then I'm going to sit it out until the 2028 presidential election.
Yeah.
And then they think that magically with that vote, even if we turn the House blue, we turn Senate blue, we turn executive branch blue, that then some shining knight in armor, I think right now people are looking at Gavin Newsom, he gonna come and make it all right. He's gonna fund it, he's gonna repeal it, he's gonna do some executive, and that's not where we're at right now.
Yeah. I think related to what you talked about with the people that are sitting it out, are you sitting it out and also just watching all of the protests happen and like judging the demonstrators for the different tactics that they use? You don't want to see people, quote unquote, burning down their community, destroying the community, destroying the infrastructure, and that to me, I'm like, those probably the same people.
Yeah.
Like I'm just assuming, but
the people online who are judging protesters, shut your mouth.
I mean, let me tell you something. I love a good protest. It energizes me. I've been doing it in Durham for a number of years, and I am always in support of shutting some shit down. Shut it down. Ruin people's day. We have to demonstrate and actually show our disdain for decisions that get made on our behalf.
Yeah.
And I hear, as someone that does it a lot, I often hear a lot of friends, people that I talk to that really feel like, oh, but it's not going to do anything. It's not going to change. It's just symbolic. And yeah, in a way, what you're saying is correct. And getting us in the spirit of doing something with a group of other people that we would not otherwise do is where we need to grow to in order to change our circumstances, period.
And symbolic things matter because as humans, we are very visual, symbolic creatures.
Yeah.
And so
these are the moments that you remember.
Exactly. And when you think about the civil rights movement and all of the things that happen, all of the legislation, the lobbying, the PACs and things of that sort, what stands out in the human mind the most? The protests.
Yeah.
The sit-ins. So those symbolic moments, those were not the only battleground of the civil rights movement.
Right.
But they do stand out.
Yeah.
And it's important for people to see it. but I think that people have to also understand how big revolution is.
Right.
And so people are like, well, I don't agree with that part, but we need lots of parts to it.
Right.
And so
I think that's fine, but public spaces, especially like, you know, in LA, they're in downtown LA. In many cities, generally protests happen in public places because that is the battleground.
Yeah.
Physically, that is the battle. That is one of them. It's a lot of battlegrounds, but the public spaces are one of the battlegrounds for us to contest or show symbolically our contest for power, and that direct action does work. It has ended regimes. It has changed the course of history. And so we do have examples of direct actions being that. And because we are under the Trump administration, this very, very funded and supported law enforcement body that we have. And I mean, we live in Durham, we're actually one of the luckier cities because it's generally progressive. We rarely have, protests turn violent, and violent in the sense of like regular people getting hurt by the police is what I mean by violent. I don't mean like smashing car windows. That's not what I'm talking about. And there's rarely instances of arrest. So doing protests in this city carries a different type of energy already from somewhere like Chicago or New York City or LA.
Because they have some of the gangs of New York. The NYPD.
They have the gangs of the police.
LAPD.
System.
They're the big gangs.
Yeah.
Blood in, blood out.
And they are in it for their side, and they are trained to see us as other and to see them as the people to protect. And that has always been the case with the police historically in this country. I just think that there actually needs to be more protests.
Yeah. The only thing that gets me about protests is I don't see enough violence.
When have you attended a protest?
I haven't.
Oh.
Well, no, I haven't.
Oh, wow.
Because, no, I haven't. No. No.
Interesting.
I feel like I cannot subject my body to the state unarmed.
Okay. Okay.
So I'm not showing up anywhere where somebody can put their hands on me and I don't have any. And I'm not showing up to a gunfight.
Got you.
Without a gun. That's how I truly feel.
Okay.
For me.
Yeah.
I can't find any personal glory in getting beat up on.
Okay.
So I've always felt like if I'm showing up for war, keep in mind, I've always felt like it's been war.
Yeah.
That's a battleground. And we ain't got no weapons.
Right.
So I commend protesters for showing up with gas masks or nothing, just a shirt around them right. and going toe to toe with the state.
Yeah.
Me, I don't want to show up unarmed.
Okay. You
got a baton? I got one too.
No, that's fair.
You got a gun? I got one too.
No, that's fair.
You got canisters? I got, like, to me, if I show up to a protest, I want to have a whole backpack. I want a rocket launcher.
Bitch.
You know what I'm saying? and so when people talk about, like, activists talk about, like, the protest was peaceful before the police showed up, or they're like, we had out-of-town agitators, I would be that person because let's throw the
trash can, throw the scooter right at the car.
Fuck that. The mock. What's the mock?
Oh, the mocktails.
Don't throw this.
Oh, not mocktails. The
mock. What's it called? You know what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
Throw them bitches.
Okay.
I believe in violence and I believe in self-defense. So
that's real.
I feel like if I'm going to show up for something like that, it's all or nothing.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. No.
Bring the guns.
I think there
hate
are
seeing people being subjected to that type of violence, and I love when I see the people who are like throwing the smoke, the gas canister. I love it, but I'm like, what if you would have brought grenades?
So I think there are a lot of people that think like that, in terms of like, I'm not going because I know I'm not going to be able to do this, that, and the third. I'm going to derail the plans. I know
fuck
people.
Up.
Yeah. But listen, my grandma is the same way. She told me this story about, it was a march that was in Durham. She went to Central. So this was during the Civil Rights Movement. And she really wanted to bring her blade. And they was like, Joyce, you can't come.
If I'm in an organization,
they would stay home.
They would tell me to stay behind.
Yeah, she was
because
like,
I'm like, are we bringing guns?
Right. No, I understand this. I definitely understand that sentiment. I think there are more people than you might realize that are trained to think about the question around, what are we bringing?
That's where my that's where my people are. I need to find them. I gotta find them. Where's the plan? The war plan.
That
Lord, I know a new FBI agent has just been assigned.
They've just tuned in.
But for real, where is the plan? For that, and I think it comes from, once again, that imagery from the Civil Rights Movement. Is seeing dogs, water hoses, billy clubs, all things being sicked on people, and me watching as a child, I said, and then a Black Panther thing would come up. I'm like, I gotta get a chopper.
Yeah.
So, that's why I come for the violence.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, I just gotta find. Let me do some disclaimers on that.
And we can talk more about this afterwards.
Yeah, later. But shout out to the people who are brave and fearless and go out there with literally. Some people joined these protests and you can tell they were walking home. And they just got into the action. And you can tell other people came in organizations and maybe they got some masks.
Yes.
But it's still nothing compares to how the militarized state force is going to come in. So I really commend the bravery of people going toe to toe with somebody in full SWAT gear.
Yeah.
I just want to know, where the soldiers at? Where the shooters and the looters? I need a soldier for real. Where are the shooters and the looters? Because I saw them tank. We talked about it episode 1. If a tank is on the lot, if I can get a tank,
can you get it?
They're moving a lot of tanks into DC for this parade that Trump is having.
Oh, is it a military parade again?
On the 14th, on his birthday.
Interesting.
And
it didn't happen last time.
It's supposed to be happening next week.
Fascism.
And all I could think of, because I saw the tanks coming in, I said, if we could get our hands on one of those. Yeah. There's a quote from Kelly Carter Jackson from her book Refused, which we talked about. Well, we mentioned it in the last episode, but in America, revolutions and violence belong to powerful white men alone. Yeah, they're the only people who can be violent. Or people who are working on their behalf.
No, because they don't even frame what they're doing as violence.
No.
They only frame what we do as violence.
No.
Violent protests.
She has another quote where she kind of speaks to that, and she says, racism and classism have blinded Americans so they cannot see white supremacy as their own Armageddon against black people. How might our thinking change if we consider mass incarceration as an apocalypse? Or economic inequality, a catastrophe instead of status quo.
Right.
Speaking to that, like, people are talking about, fascism and the end is coming, the end of the empire. It's been here. When you can lock up millions of Americans, disproportionately black and brown people, poor people, and just throw them in cages. That's the worst of it.
Yeah.
The only thing now that's so scary is that we realize a lot more people can join them in them cages who don't get due process or quote unquote don't deserve it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's wild that that's where we're at.
Yeah.
But people are kind of like having to wake that up in them that like things are really bad, but they've also been really bad. They've been more covert and done with a little bit more decorum. But like Biden, he had a deportation. Actually, they said that Trump is pretty much trying to beat Biden's quota for deportations.
Yeah, no, clearly with 3,000 a day. And the tactics, the different tactics that they're using to scout, surveil, find, and move through a really, really quick process of deportation because they are trying to meet those numbers. They're also trying to scare people into self-deportation, which is another way to get their numbers up. They're all of the hyper surveillance, the show, they're showing up in military gear and all of that to deport people is also meant to scare the shit out of other people and get them to self-deport.
Yeah, because it's easier
it's a full conspiracy
for people to say, you know what, I'd rather just go back to my country of origin than to be arrested and sent to El Salvador.
Yeah.
So I might as well just go somewhere where I can be safe and with family or friends than to be sent to prison.
Yeah.
For nothing and no due process or anything.
Right.
And
no crimes. They're considering if you open up a bank account, that's committing a crime. If you're working without without your work permit, that's a crime. Like so many things that you would do just to like live a life in this country, and those are the things that's being criminalized.
And another thing I've been seeing online is people saying, oh, well, we didn't ask for this. We wanted criminals deported. We didn't, want hard workers. We wanted illegal people to be deported. And what people don't realize is that a lot of people come here legally and maybe their status changes, their visa expires,
all
or
kind of stuff.
It's such a long process to citizenship. It's really not as easy as submitting an application, getting a hearing, and it's approved. You have to have a lawyer, you have to have money, and it takes years and years. And so a lot of these people have come here, made a life, maybe open up a business you like to enjoy. And so it's not that they snuck here and climbed over these walls that don't exist. They were legally permitted into the country, and now their immigration status has changed or expired. Yeah. And to say, well, then that means they got to go back home. I would like to see you pick up and go. Right. Off of nothing. Right. Yeah. So that's another, it's just a lot of things that are, a lot of lies that are out there. Yeah. And like false narratives that we have to move from.
Yeah. And it really minimizes our collective compassion for each other also, which is like part of their plan.
Yeah. So someone's paperwork isn't right. So you feel like they deserve a certain experience because of, I was about to get into my Dr. Umar because of the man's paperwork.
Yeah. Yeah. With me, I have this book called Behind Crimmigration.
Okay, so that's a hard word.
Crimmigration.
Who did that?
ICE, Law Enforcement, and Resistance in America is written by my homegirl, Felicia Arriaga. And she wrote this book. She's a professor in New York, but she talks about the criminalization of immigration and how it's progressed. Specifically, she focuses on North Carolina's numbers. And it's about the, different laws that have been trying to move through to criminalize immigration, and just the numbers around ICE and the partnerships actually that ICE has been able to have with different law enforcement agencies, with parole offices.
Did you see what's trying to pass in North Carolina this week?
Yes.
Where their state troopers would be able to pretty much act as an extension of ICE.
Yeah.
Like you pulling somebody over for one thing, and then all of a sudden you're turning into questioning someone's immigration status.
Yeah, they're developing ways to meet these quotas, and these law enforcement agencies have been working together. It was only recently in North Carolina that there were some sheriffs that agreed that they wouldn't partner with ICE, but those days are done. So I brought with me Behind Crimmigration, and then my other book that's grounded me is This is an Uprising by Mark Engler and Paul Engler. And they write about nonviolent revolts and how it shaped the 21st century, mostly led by young people specifically. So This is Uprising is the other book for today's episode. What you got, Brittany?
I realized I brought some of the same books that I had last time because we're kind of continuing in the resistance, but I did bring some other ones. So I brought Blood in My Eye by George Jackson. Love that. What else did I bring? I brought We Refuse.
Yes. By Kelly Carter Jackson. Another Jackson.
Got that one.
Come on,
I
Jacksons.
brought Guerrilla Warfare because once again, I'm with Che.
Gotta bring Che into the conversation.
We need the shooters and the looters. The descendants of loot. I brought Discourse on Colonialism. It has some of my favorite bars. And let me go ahead and say one of my favorites. So it says, no one colonizes innocently. That means that no one colonizes with impunity either. That a nation which colonizes, I didn't chopped it up how I typed that. A civilization that justifies colonization and therefore force is already a sick civilization, a civilization which is morally diseased, which irresistibly progressing from one consequence to another, one denial to another, calls for its Hitler. I mean, its punishment. I love that quote. I'll post it with the post for this episode because I just chopped it up the way I said it. But I love that last line. Calls for its Hitler. I mean, its punishment. Right now, everybody's looking at what's going on in America, and they're like, how did we get here? How did we get Trump?
Yeah.
Any nation that is an imperialist nation, the biggest imperialist nation, that is bombing Gaza on behalf of another country or sending arms, America is pretty much getting what it has spread throughout the world. We've spread fascism and genocide and war elsewhere, and now it's here home, and it's impossible to ignore because it's been going on, but it's become, Trump has made things impossible to ignore.
Right. And
so we're in the belly of the beast, and we can't sit anything out with it. And which is why people were calling for more people to have solidarity with Palestinians during the election time. Yeah. Because it's the, I think it's called the imperial boomerang. What we do elsewhere, the violence we inflict elsewhere, eventually comes home. And so as the state is being violent with us, what do we do with that?
Yeah. I mean, we're next. We're now. We were first. Actually. Yeah. We have covered so much, girl. We want to leave with a question for our listeners. I'm just still thinking about, what Brittany was saying about her reasoning around not going to a protest. And I would love to hear from our listeners, like, what would encourage you to go to a protest? Is it knowing somebody? Is it first, having a conversation with somebody beforehand to get a rundown of the plan? Is it knowing that somebody is going to be there armed, even if you don't have to be? I'm just curious, like, what would encourage someone to say yes to going to a protest? And our other question that we have for this entire episode is, what does this moment call for?
Resistance. But I think a lot of people are looking for, what does resistance look like? For me, I know what it looks like, and I don't think that there's enough movement behind the type of resistance that I feel is suitable for the times.
Okay.
Right? But also, once again, bringing it back to the hill that you are always on, it's being organized. And I think it's a time for people to really lock in on like what type of organization that they're looking for.
Yeah.
Because I think that'll get a lot of people to protest. Like, as you said, when you're a part of an organization,
yeah,
you know, it can kind of usher you into these certain things.
Right.
But I also feel like for resistance, people have to explore, like, what are some things you can resist, as far as, one, how can you resist disinformation online? Narratives.
Right.
The moment your aunt starts talking about, we did our part, debunk it.
Yeah.
Challenge it. I hit up my homeboy this week. I said, oh my God, were you hacked?
Right.
Because you have Republican tweets on your timeline.
Yeah,
so I'm confused. And resisting a lot of the narratives that are out there. And this urge of like, we ain't, you know, what can we do?
Yeah.
Being hopeless.
Yeah. Yeah. We have a lot of work to do, but I hope that folks listening got some good insight and got a little inspiration around thinking about how you can be more involved in this moment. Because the ICE raids are not going to stop. They're probably actually going to increase.
And it's all becoming one fusion. It's like ICE and the Marines and the National Guard. And at the end of the day, you don't know who will be snatching you up, or when it's pretty much martial law. Yeah. When it moves to that, martial law is not designated towards a certain group. Yeah. They come and do martial law in your city, your ass is on a curfew. Yeah. That's it. That's it. Yeah. And you can't be like, I'm an American. Girl, don't nobody care about that. Yeah. They'll hit you with the butt of the gun just the same. All right, get your ass back in your car. Right. So, it's going to come a moment where your citizenship doesn't matter. And once again, they ain't never cared about us being American citizens. So that whole, it's their fight, not my fight. Relax. Yeah. Yeah. They'll delete your birth certificate from the register of deeds. Yes, yes. Which is why we need to continue to, be in constant assessment about the media that we're putting, putting reposts and putting our arguments behind, and also find your people. Find your people. Thank y'all so much for listening. Yes. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Stay strong. Stay strong. Please answer our questions. I will have them in the show notes. Follow us. Subscribe. Follow our podcast. Please leave a comment. We actually do read those. Yes. Or shoot us a DM. We actually do respond to those as well. Mm-hmm. Follow us on IG at Revolutionary Baddies. We're also on YouTube at Revolutionary Baddies, and on all of the streaming platforms. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon. See y'all.